I have less aches and pains than I did when I was younger, and I'm 41 years old. So over time with consistency, Pilates has made me younger. And when I meet people, they are shocked by my age and also what I'm able to do because I can just try out new things. I don't have a fear around can I do that or not because I know my body can meet me where I'm at. But also Pilates will meet you. So if you can't use a leg, we can work the rest of your body because that's what Joseph Pilates did. When you came to his studio, he would work the parts of your body that weren't injured.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan, Neff. Another fantastic day for an interview. And I've got Lesley Logan with me. Lesley is a phenomenon when it comes to Pilates. And she has put her passion into her growth as a human. And it is not just the Pilates, but there's so much more that this wonderful human being is bringing out of the people that she touches. As such, I'm very intrigued. And in actually fact, in the preamble, before we started recording, we already had such a beautiful wonderful discussion that we both said, hey, hang on, we're already doing the interview here. So I hope, and I know we will continue in the same vein. So Lesley, welcome to my show.
Oh my gosh, so fun. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I know this is going to be an amazing journey of lots of different touch points that will hopefully help everybody who's listening.
Isn't it? And I mean, you are defining yourself of being a Pilates instructor with someone who has been in this niche since at least 2008. So you have been doing a lot of work. You have taught shitloads of classes yourself. You taught others to teach. So that is all you. Now, being a derogatory male Pilates, come on, this is something for housewives to stretch themselves a little bit. Really, I mean, that's not really something serious, is it?
I mean, except for that it was created by a man for you. So,
oh, oops.
Yeah. So, I think it's really important to understand when Joseph Pilates came to the US, it was in the 20s. He was in Germany. He got stuck in an internment camp. Eventually made himself on a boat. If you actually look at the history of Joseph Pilates and you read the book by John Steele, you'll find he's an interesting person who left some children behind. So I'm not going to say he's amazing. He's incredible genius. And then also like all geniuses, there's just like a few things you're like, yep. That's not great. But anyways, he came to the US with his work. And he was a gymnast and a very established boxer and circus performer. And he was really interested in the human body. And if you look at fitness, which was not really a thing before that, look at fitness in Europe around the 20s and the early 1900s, you'll see a very functional fitness performance is the wrong word, but like modality going on. So he took a lot of those moves. He put it on equipment. And then if you go through the timeline, he died in the 70s at like 80 something years old after being a cigar smoker and a heavy drinker. Like he was a very interesting man. Anyways, he passed and his clients took his method on. So the way he taught people was that they actually taught themselves. You did a few sessions with him and then you would do Pilates on your own. You wouldn't even make an appointment. You would just come in and leave $5, which was a lot of money back then. And you would work yourself out, and himself and his wife, Clara, wife is in air quotes, they weren't truly married, wife Clara, which is its own scandal because back then two people didn't live together if they weren't truly married. So anyways, and then his niece and some other people would be there walking around the gym, just kind of like a gym. If you go to a lot of gyms today, there'll be like a trainer who walks around you could hire, but they're also just there to make sure you're doing okay. So they'd walk around, they'd give you some corrections, but they really believed in you doing this yourself. So when he passed and they put this together and they put this work out there and creating a studio for people to come, this is the 80s. So I don't know what it was like in New Zealand, but in the US, jazzercise. Y'all, jazzercise was in, and men getting super bulky was in. That Arnold Schwarzenegger like bulk, right? So if you have to always look at the timeline of events to really understand what's going on. I think people like to look at it and go, that doesn't make any sense. But if you look at what was going on at the time, when we were doing jazzercise, they eventually found Pilates after they got injured. So did a lot of people who worked out because they were doing too much steroids. That's a big 80s thing. But then what happened is the people who carried his work, they were actually dancers. So he created this for men. If you look at a lot of his pictures, he uses men. Dancers had found his work. So the people who took it out to the world were dancers, which is where it got that, like, it's a female skinny girl thing, which you have to understand, like the joke, one of the famous elders in Pilates was in Beverly Hills, and everyone wanted to go to a studio because the women came out looking so skinny. And my teacher, who stayed with Joseph Pilates, is like, well, they went in that way. So like they went in that way. So the dancers have that dancer body. That doesn't mean Pilates is going to give you that dancer body. What Pilates is going to do is going to balance your imbalances. We're all going to look different doing the exact same exercises because Pilates is here to meet you where you are and take you where you need to grow. And it's going to really work on having the most amazing strength, but coupled with flexibility. Because a lot of people lift weights, they're tight. A lot of people do yoga, they're stretched. We got to put the two together so we have true balance.
And that's true function, isn't it? So we are optimizing the function of the body, which is really defined as moving you through space. And we keep forgetting that. Yes, it is, of course, if you put the focus on muscle growth and you do the right nutrition and you do the right exercises, that's all quite pretty. But there are many men out there who can lift tremendous amount of weights. And then you ask them actually to do something functional, and they are unable to do it. They are unable to, I don't know, touch behind their back or going down on the ground and actually kneeling down proper. No, can't. So you're right. So there you've got this beautiful combination of flexibility and strength and core strength. Something that many others often enough disregard. Yeah, okay, that doesn't look good. Go into the typical... Yeah, sorry, ladies
your
first.
Core strength. Sorry, your core strength is just your abs. Your core strength, if you understand core, like if you see a beautiful washboard stomach, and I say beautiful, and like that's what we're taught is beautiful, right? So if you see a washboard stomach, you need to know dehydration, genetics, and splitting muscles is that what you're looking at. Like they're actually torn muscles. So it's not that you shouldn't want a six pack or that you should. It's just that is not to me the sign of true core strength, because I have worked at gyms as a Pilates instructor where people with like 8 packs or 12, like they got like all, like they've just like really taken them all into the exact balance that they wanted. True vanity. They can't, if we lay on the ground, if I go to roll up, I can round forward over my legs don't move, my spine stretches. It's as nice, like think of a U, right? They come up like a vampire or a mousetrap. Boom, right? They just like snap up if they even get up at all. Their body has strength, but does not have functionality, as you mentioned. And so your core is actually it's all the muscles around your spine.
Correct.
So it's the multifidus, which is this muscle that no one even talks about. It's like deep in there. You have a transverse abdominis, which is like not even attached to bones. It's like this weird cummerbund. There are so many muscles that will require, that are your core, that people don't think about. They just think about, I'll just do a bunch of sit-ups and then I have strong core. You might have defined muscles, which is not the same thing as a strong core.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. And that is such a difference. And that is indeed where true functionality really trumps so many other more focused disciplines. So thank you very much for clarifying a lot about Pilates already in a very short period of time. I often joke that anyone who speaks derogatory of either Pilates or other forms of yoga or water exercises They probably haven't done it. Because
Yeah.
I was derogatory once when I sort of saw the women in the pool. I had done some, I don't know, K2 or so in the pool, and I felt, yeah, the man. And they were doing their water walking, and I thought, yeah, right. And I must have said something to the pool guy, and he said, I tell you what, come, I'll show you a few exercises. I could barely get out of the pool afterwards. So,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to be humbled, and I think I love it that you put those things out there. But Pilates is one thing, and for many people, exercise. You mentioned it, exercise or this going onto this path with Pilates and with other, I think, self-improvement techniques. There's always a bit of a trauma there. There's often an injury or something else that stops people in its track. And I think then is when their lives become unraveled, and when suddenly we see that whole gamut of poor habits, of shit nutrition, of not paying attention to the basics. Is that something that you see in your practice as well? So people finally come to your Pilates class and you see that actually there is so much more than just the need to develop a strong core.
Yeah, I wish people came to me before they needed it. Before their doctor told them they needed to come, and their doctor, by the way, hasn't done it ever. So they sometimes send me people who are very pregnant. I'm like, hi, we don't start anything new right now. But so people come to try out the thing that they probably should have done before the injury, after the injury, and that's okay.
Nice.
But the sooner you start Pilates, the better. And it doesn't have to be your whole life. I actually am not a Pilates versus, I'm a Pilates and. So whatever you already love, I'm excited for you. I would never play NFL football, American football myself, but I will absolutely teach a football player and it's incredible what it will do for you. But if you come to me after you've been injured on the field, it's going to take us longer to get you where you needed to go. So the sooner you come, the better. One of the things I really dislike is people like, when I lose weight, I'll come to Pilates. When I get more flexible, I'll come to Pilates. When I get stronger, I'll come to Pilates. And it's like, well, what do you think Pilates is going to do?
Yeah.
Now, the weight loss thing, I can't guarantee, because that's a genetics, hormones, kitchen thing. But the strength, flexibility, balanced imbalances, longevity of life, I can guarantee. So, if you're going to come when you're injured, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So Pilates is more than welcome to meet you where you are. However, not that Pilates makes you bulletproof from injury. I fractured my tibial plateau after doing Pilates for 7 years, so it wasn't the Pilates. I went on a run. I hyperextended my knee and I fractured my tibial plateau. What I can tell you is I don't have any issues from that tibial plateau fracture. I have less aches and pains than I did when I was younger, and I'm 41 years old. So over time, with consistency, Pilates has made me younger. And when I meet people, they are shocked by my age and also what I'm able to do, because I can just try out new things. I don't have a fear around, can I do that or not? Because I know my body can meet me where I'm at, but also Pilates will meet you. So if you can't use a leg, we can work the rest of your body, because that's what Joseph Pilates did. When you came to a studio, he would work the parts of your body that weren't injured. And PT is very different. PT focuses on only the part that's injured. Pilates, I'm not a exercise physiologist. I'm not a physio. I'm not legally, so I don't even use muscle terms when I teach you, because I am an exercise teacher. But I'll look at that and go, okay, you can't use your right wrist right now. So what else can we do? And how does strengthening you from the center out actually cause that thing that caused the injury in the first place feel better?
No, that makes a lot of sense. But also we have to understand that that the use of our body has become something of a bit of a strange thing in nowadays society. It is either pushed into niches such as strength building or running or things. It's all niches.
I'm a runner. I'm a weightlifter. I'm a CrossFitter. That's right. Like, we like to label ourselves.
isn't it? But
Yes.
what people don't realize is, well, actually, first of all, I don't actually know the percentage of people who are actively, regularly doing exercise. But
Oh, I don't know that either.
judging by the fact that the obesity epidemic in the United States has reached 50% plus,
Yes.
especially over the last 10 years, we've added another 10% on the statistics there. You have to say that things are clearly not going in the right way. And the other thing that we need to accept is that whilst we're talking about these niches, it's really the functionality that is so important. You having the confidence in your body that basically allows you to live your life to the fullest. And I think it's this confidence that many of us have lost. And therefore, it makes us more prone to injuries. It makes us more for the ego to come out and say, when I was 21, I was able to kick a Coke can off someone's head in a sidekick. Yeah, right. You do that now, and then there's probably an injury waiting for you or for the guy with the Coke can.
When you're younger, your body can do amazing things with inconsistency.
Yeah.
Because there's just youth on your side, young mitochondria, things going on.
Yeah.
It is true. After the age of 30, everybody is losing muscle mass. Everybody, men and women. So you actually have to work harder to maintain it. A lot of people see working out as a luxury or a privilege, and walking is movement. You all, and like walk your dog, go outside. I think the rise of technology has really forced us all back inside. And depending on where you live during the 2020 lockdowns and how long you were locked down for, I do think some people develop some habits that they're not actually excited about, but it is a habit. We like the devil we know more than the one we don't know. And so I think a lot of people want to scroll for entertainment versus like going for a walk and letting the nature around or the city around you entertain you. I love to people watch. I love to walk around. I find the choices of people's house color is very fascinating. So it's not that I get to exercise every single day or not. That's not even what I'm advocating for people here, but intentional movement matters. And, the science is out that working out alone is not what's going to help you lose weight. So I need that to be very clear. If you are someone who is on a weight loss journey because you and your doctor have decided that that is the best thing for you, working out alone is not going to get you there, because your body is made of genetics, the kitchen, and your hormones. Okay. And depending on what's going on in your environment can very much affect that. It's very clear. If you've watched the news about the US, there are parts of the US where they are drinking very terrible water that has actually put metal in their bodies that is going to affect the function of their bodies and what their body can do. They could work out all they want. They're not going to feel awesome because their water is not great. So now, but the science also shows if you are on a weight loss journey and you have a meal plan that is working based on your body's needs, your hormones needs, your genetics, working out is going to help you lose weight and keep it off. But on its own, it isn't. So if you are using workouts to lose weight primarily, you are going to be punishing yourself with movement, which is not what I'm wanting. I want people to move for the health of it.
Yeah. And there's a very simple saying, you can't outrun your fork. And that is very true. If you actually give it a shot and actually just try it. I use a Garmin watch. I just love it. I'm not getting any payment here for it, but it's just a wonderful way of tracking your exercise, but also your sleep, your hydration, etc. Yeah. So if you want to do that, and I thought one day, well, why don't you go every hour, jump on a stationary bike and do 10Ks. So I did, cost Took me about 25 minutes or so, going at a relatively decent clip. And it was cool. And I was sweating. So 300, 400 kilocalories or calories every single time. So I did that 5 times. And I thought, 50 Ks from bike. Yeah, I'm proud. And I certainly was sweating and my heart rate was up. Yeah, what was that? Maybe 1,000 calories, something like that. Is that? And then you look at how much is actually in a pizza? How much is actually in a cheesecake?
Well,
and you think,
and I think,
okay.
and let's just say, like, I listened to this amazing, we were talking about this before we hit record. So I was listening to the Diary of a CEO's podcast on Ozempic and the other GL, I don't know what they're called. They have a type of shot that they're called. And the guy who is the guest, he has been doing one of the shot programs for a year. And he's lost 3 stones and he's been able to keep most of it off. And he was talking about how he felt like it was cheating. And I personally don't see any of these things as cheating. I think like there's reasons these things exist for people. And he said, my weight gain is not just my fault. The governments actually need to step in and see that the food in different societies is completely causing a lot of problems that people are living in, and it's not all their fault. We can say don't eat the pizza, and there are people who will still gain weight because it's not just the pizza, right? Like, it is expensive in the US to buy salads, like vegetables. Meat is so expensive, right? So, and then you add on, like, I don't know if this is happening where you are, but there is a bird flu that's causing it to be impossible to afford eggs. So it's so hard to get true protein, easy protein, and true vegetables. Then you add on that most people don't even have the time to cook anymore. And so it becomes too convenient and too easy to pick things that are high in sodium, high in sugars, right? Like the pizza is really not that bad, but the sugar in it's not great. Like if you were to make that from scratch, it would not be as bad as in air quotes. So I think like what I learned from that episode is like, first of all, the people who need those shots, they need those shots, but also the reason they need those shots is something that can be prevented if high sugar foods, poor nutritious foods were either not allowed or taxed or something like that. It needs to be easier for people to afford a tomato. So I think like there's all of that. And then also we have to be educated on what true health is. And health is not what's on your scale. Health is really what is happening inside your body. And so sleep is going to be so important. So few people are drinking enough water. Very few people understand how much protein they need to have. On days where I have the amount of protein I'm supposed to have, I would love a piece of pizza. You couldn't get me to take a bite. I'm so full from all the protein. So like, I think, unfortunately, in many countries, we're not educated. We're not educating children about what food is and what fuel is. Food is fuel. And so I think that that's really important. So when we get to working out, we think I work out to burn the calories of what I ate. That's not it. You move your body so that you have a body to move later.
Exactly. Beautifully said. I think I often talk about it. There is the principle or the concept of a bliss point. The bliss point is the perfect combination of salty, fatty, and sweet. And that is something that the industries out there are trying to create. And if you take chips, Doritos, whatever thing you take, there's the classic example of that. If you look at the amount of sugar and salt in normal, quotation mark, normal things where you think there shouldn't be sugar or salt in there, well, it is in there in order to make it more dopamine spiking, therefore addictive. Okay, so let's call it what it is. We are creating an And this has been happening for at least 70 years, with actually the government starting out, because they had created all these beautiful packaged meals, i.e. sea rations that were, or rations for the army, and they learned how to can and preserve things. And now suddenly they had all that surplus, all canned. Hey, we better get the population now to take all that produced stuff. And suddenly it was cool to no longer bake your bread, to no longer preserve your fruit, etc., to live with the seasons, to ferment foods, all those things that were natural and were part and parcel of us surviving as a human species in the last hundreds and thousands of years. That just went by the wayside. So we're talking 70 years of social engineering. Okay.
And also and that is affecting our gut biomes, which is affecting your mood swings. But you mentioned these foods become addictive, and food is often used as rewards for things. It's used in celebrations for things.
Yeah.
And so it can be very difficult, because if you are addicted to a lot of things, what do? We figured a way to remove it from your life and work on why you were addicted in the first place.
Yeah.
You have to eat. You have to eat. And so figuring that out is going to be a process, and it can be very difficult if the people in your family are not on that journey with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I think, and I also just want to preface, I'm not saying everyone needs to be thin. I am actually saying every single person needs to have a body that they can move around, and you can be healthy at a weight that, at least in the Western society, would be seen as overweight and non-attractive. I think we have to stop looking at body sizes and go, that person's healthy, that person's not healthy. That's not it. The health is between you and your doctor, your blood tests, your genetics, your hormones. But we as a society need to get better at fueling ourselves. In the US, you walk around going, I only slept for 4 hours. Look at all the things I did. Right? We actually pride ourselves on these very destructive behaviors. And then we look at people who are taking care of themselves and we shame them. There's wellness shaming at work. Oh, it must be so nice that you can go to Pilates class. Oh, it must be so nice that you could run before you come to work. Oh, it must be so if you are jealous of somebody's wellness program, it is a flashlight of what you are wanting. And if anyone is actually saying that to you and making you feel a bit bad about the wellness choices you're making, you actually should say, it is nice. I thank you for noticing. What are you doing for yourself? We have to be okay making people uncomfortable if they make us uncomfortable. And I think that is something I see all the time. I see it in relationships. I will have the women that I work with whose partners support them moving. They will come to me more consistently than the ones whose partners do not support it. And they might not blatantly verbally say, I don't support you into Pilates, but they might go, oh, you're going to go work out again? I haven't seen you all week.
All right.
Well, then meet her for lunch. Stay, get up early and have coffee, walk the dogs together, but do not take away her, don't make her feel bad about taking care of herself. We have to and if I say this, I have a mother who I love. She's amazing. When she visits, she's like, oh, you're walking the dog again? I'm like, you can walk her with me. Yeah, nice. We have to be mindful of when we're actually asking someone to not take care of themselves, because that is not okay. That wellness shaming actually keeps people from taking care of themselves in a way that they have discovered works for them.
Wow. What a beautiful word, the wellness shaming.
Mel Dolman is the person who coined that. So I wish I could take credit, but I cannot. She wrote the book, Mental Health, Why We Need to Talk About Mental Health at the Workplace.
Nice one. And you're quite right about that. There is, the weird thing is, if we look at the day, you have got X amount of seconds in there. Now, every single person has got the same seconds. So there are some people of us who have created habits that make it a bit more likely for you to live your life in the most intentional way, compared with those of us who rather prefer to distract themselves because maybe they don't want to face the reality. They want to escape their reality. And alcohol, sex, drugs, food, gambling, scrolling. These are all beautiful, beautiful addictions that prevent you having to face the reality.
Yeah.
Once you start doing that, you realize that actually you could relatively easily add more activity into your day. And you've mentioned some of those things. Walk the dog. Or if you don't have a dog, well, walk a bit further to the supermarket. So park the car, provided it's safe to do so, a bit further away from the entrance. And suddenly you have added 100 meters or 200 meters of walking into your day without even thinking. And it would have maybe taken you a minute, if that. So is that really so much? And if you say, oh, I don't have time, could you imagine that maybe you could use 1% of your waking hours to actually look after yourself?
Yeah.
And you say 1%, well, I guess I could say, well, that's 15 minutes. So could you do 15 minutes of activity? And maybe even break it down in 3 sets of 5. Could you do 5 minutes of activity? I bet you could.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming the leaders of all of the countries of people listening work out, and they have the whole country as a responsibility. Like, let's just put that in perspective. One of my favorite, RBG, right? The Supreme Court justice that we all loved in the US. She literally trained with her trainer 3 days a week, and she's the Supreme Court justice. All of our laws are based on her. Right? So I always say self-care isn't selfish care.
Yeah.
And the other thing you brought up a few times, you said dopamine earlier, and then we were talking about things that we can be addicted to and scrolling. Everything you do is bringing you joy. Now, you might not call it joy. It might not be the word you apply it to, but the habits you don't like that you do bring you some sort of good feeling. Guess why? You don't do anything that feels bad. We don't do that. Everything we do in our life brings us some sort of comfort, positivity, good feeling. Maybe it's the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. But here's the thing. This is true in all things. Our brain is constantly seeking dopamine hits. It is addicted to dopamine. That's why some drugs are more addictive than other drugs. Your brain is addicted to these dopamine hits. The people who founded Instagram studied with BJ Fogg. He is one of the behavioral scientists who founded the behavior science department in Stanford. Okay. And also Every Habits book, for sure, the person trained or use the studies and scientific studies off of BJ Fogg. Okay. So BJ Fogg has a book, Tiny Habits, and I went through his Tiny Habits training. He's an incredible human, by the way, really kind. And he talks about how there's no such thing as a bad habit. There are things we don't like about ourselves that we do, but there's no such thing as a bad habit because your habits you don't like are still providing something good to your brain. Otherwise, your brain wouldn't do it. If things made you feel shame, you would avoid them. We don't like to feel that way. Anger, judgment, things like that. So the way to create a habit around anything is first, you have to get a dopamine hit when you do it or after you do it right away. Too many people do a thing. Okay, if I run every day this week, then I will at the end of the week get a massage. That is a reward. It's not the same as a dopamine hit of celebration. And so because that reward is too far away from the habit, so your brain isn't associated, I ran every day with the new pair of jeans that you bought or whatever it is. So what you need to do is really think about what is it that you're wanting to do? And then what are you going to do as soon as it's over that you can get a dopamine hit that you can celebrate with it? If you're listening, you have kids are amazing because you can celebrate with them and you can actually teach them to celebrate what they did do from a very young age. So you can actually break the cycle with them. You can go, high five, we just did 10 squats. My husband, when he is in the kitchen waiting for the coffee, we have an espresso thing. We actually you put the coffee grinds in and it you wait for it to pour. So he does 5 push-ups at the counter while he's waiting for the coffee to go through. You're sitting there waiting. You're just waiting for it to pour enough in, right? While the milk is steaming, he does some squats, right? Now we go to the gym too, but this is what he does. He finds his intentional things. And then he actually celebrates. He goes, I did that. I did 5 squats. He makes it fun, right? If you have kids, you can go do 5 squats with me. Okay. Yay. High five, right? These things will work. Maybe you have a favorite song you like to play. So you want something to be a celebration in the moment. That
Oh.
is how you're going to create a habit. Now, if you make the habit too hard, I'm going to go to the gym every single day this week. Well, if you've never been to the gym 7 days in a row,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. Let's just
Sure.
be honest. And also, maybe you only put your gym shoes on. We have to make the habit something we can do. And for the perfectionists listening, this is going to be very difficult. Why should I celebrate that I put my gym shoes on? You perfectionists are getting your own way from having the life you want to live. So BJ Fogg called it tiny habits on purpose. So the people who found it Instagram, what they found is that if it's really quick and easy to get dopamine hit, you will make a habit of going on Instagram and posting. So the original Instagram took 3 clicks, 3 buttons to get a picture up. And then what? Start getting likes and dopamine hits and dopamine hits, right? And so why do we check our phone? Most of us don't like social media. I don't know a single person who's like, I love social media. It's my life. Not even my friends who are influencers who get paid from social media like social media. But what do? We check it when we're waiting for something. If we're on hold, we open up our phone. If we're waiting for a Zoom call to start, we are doing that for a dopamine hit. You might not like that you check your phone the moment you wake up, but I promise you, you are getting some sort of dopamine hit relief. I check my phone in the morning. Are you kidding? Why? I'm looking for a Stripe email. I have an online business. Stripe emails make money. So I'm like, when I wake up and I see a Stripe email, I'm like, yeah, I made money while I'm sleeping. It's a dopamine hit. I don't like that I have that habit about myself, but it's serving me. So if we want to have habits around anything we like, make it small and celebrate it. You will make a habit in a day.
Beautifully said. Maybe we all should have little star charts.
Yes, right.
And
Do you remember in your little school, they gave you a gold star? We all want a gold star.
that's right. And in all fairness, whilst I'm making a little bit of fun of it, there was actually 99% truth in there, because we don't celebrate our wins. And that is so bad. I'm guilty as charged. Honestly, I was never able to do so. I was always thinking forward. Okay, next thing. And I was never satisfied with what I had just achieved, regardless of the fact that maybe only me and no one else achieved what I achieved. And it's just, but no, I never gave myself the grace, and I never showed the gratitude to myself and the respect to myself. All those kind of things. It's only in recent years, and I'm 57, for crying out loud. It's only in recent years that I'm learning that, and I'm actively practicing the small habits, because it's not just something, I'll do habits now. That's it. I do habits. No, it doesn't work like that. It's the same if you go in the gym and you say, let me try those big weights. Yeah, my ass. You're struggling with the little weight, the smallest weight. And then 6 months later, suddenly, you're throwing those things around. Okay. And it's the same with habits. You need to start small. But you need to be consistent, isn't it?
Yes. Well, and consistency happens if you are kind to yourself. So here's how the brain works. The brain is seeking out dopamine hits. So if every time you do 5 squats while you're making your coffee, you give yourself a gold star, or you go, I'm amazing, right? Like, I'm a words of affirmation person. Like, people who are around, my husband laughs because I'll do something like, fuck yeah, I'm so awesome. And he's just like, I'll do it in front of people in public. And he's like, oh my God, that's my wife. Like, and I'm like, creating habits over here, people. Like, I am giving myself dopamine. But if you don't do that, and instead you are saying to yourself, I didn't do it today, or I only did 3 squats and not 5. When you are focused on when you do that shame, your brain actually doesn't seek out opportunities to do those 5 squats. It won't seek out an opportunity to walk. It won't remind you of the things that cause you pain. So if you are someone listening to this, and when you worked out, people made fun of you in PE, of course you don't want to work out. Of course there is some trauma there. But so we have to be kind to ourselves always, because the world's going to be hard enough. And if you are actually giving yourself that celebration on the little thing that you did, your brain will seek out opportunities, and that is how you'll be consistent. Consistency is not the same as repetition. If I do it for 21 days, it's a habit. No. And here's how we can all discuss this. I don't care where you are in the world. The moment you could take your mask off during COVID, we all had the opportunity, they all had the unfortunate experience of having to put it back on. And how many times before you got to take it off and after you forgot your mask in the car on your way to the grocery store? I would like literally get out of the car, walk up to them, I'm like, oh, it's in the car. And I would like walk back to the car. And I still wear it on planes. I love that I'm not sick after flying. But because I had shame and anger and frustration, I'm getting acne. My brain wasn't seeking out, oh, this is the time to put a mask on. So your brain will not seek out things, even if it's good for them, if you didn't like it, if you treated yourself negatively, if you had judgment or anger around it. So if we are wanting to make habits, when you think of the habit you wanted to create, whether you did it or not, you have to celebrate it. And when you do it, you have to hit that dopamine. You have to, and then here's the thing. If you make it too hard, you're going to have soreness and you're going to have like, so if you like never work out and then you go do an hour run, you're going to feel like crap the next day. Absolutely. So you're not going to create a habit because you're not going to be able to run the next day. Right. So we have to make them small and achievable. And you said you don't celebrate your wins enough. So in all of my communities, in my Pilates community, it's online, and in my business coaching community and on my podcast, we celebrate wins. FYF, it's called Fuck Yeah Friday, and you celebrate wins. And I will celebrate like, we did this thing, we didn't hit our goal, but we did the thing. And here's what I'm really proud of. Like, or I'll celebrate, I just checked off just doing the title of this thing. Like we have to start finding ways to be happy about what we did do, because most of us will actually not hit the actual goal we set for ourselves, but it should be okay that we tried. And that should be a win.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Because we are so self-critical. It's so much more natural for us to beat ourselves up, to actually create and foster the underlying core beliefs of I am unlovable, I am a failure, and by us focusing on the 1% where we have failed, that is enough for us to be justified to ourselves. Yep. Okay. See, there you are. Whilst if we're actually wanting to break that vicious cycle, then we actually need to start practicing gratitude and celebrating those small wins. It will feel very strange to you when you start out. It will be the very first time you do it, you think, what a crap that is. And it doesn't feel right. It will feel like a fake. But very soon you actually will feel, wow, I actually did one push-up. That might be all there is. Or one, if let's say you have washed up and put things away and things that are lower down, well, instead of bending over, you can do a squat. And with every single thing, do a squat, put it into a drawer or something like that. Well, exactly right. And by the time you have blinked, you have done 10 squats whilst you were cleaning up. If you're weeding, you can do that quite nicely by doing a bird dog. Bird dog is basically you kneeling down. Yes. Okay, one hand on the ground.
You can, yes, that's great. That's great functional movement. Yes, you guys, you're kneeling, you're on all fours. Sorry, cut you off, Stephan. And one arm is forward, one arm is back.
Yep, exactly.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I hate that exercise, by the way, because my core is not so strong. Yeah, exactly. So there you go. So there it is. There are so many ways how we can actually increase the activity. And coming back from a functional point of view and from a medical point of view, we are learning more and more that the muscle is not just something that moves you through. It's actually also an organ that has a lot of impact on the hormones, that has a lot of impact on many other parts of your body. And so therefore we are oversimplifying our body still, whilst it is in fact very complex and very integrated. So therefore, when we holistically look at our well-being, and you think, oh man, my thyroid is out of whack and my female hormones are all over the show. Well, guess what? Because everything is integrated and all these nets are touching each other like a big spider web. It just also means that by you starting to pull a little bit here, and push a little bit there and do a little bit here. So suddenly by changing a bit in your nutrition, by actually being more active, by actually looking at your sleep, your hydration, you are suddenly changing the shape of that net quite dramatically.
Yes.
And by the time you've
Yes.
blinked, your hormones will have changed. Your cholesterol
Yeah.
might have come down. Your fertility might have improved. And you think, where the hell is that coming from? And
Yeah.
because you have actually done the basics right. You're no longer living so
Mm.
much in this fight and flight, but you're
Yeah.
actually building the self-confidence. You're building so much by using your muscles to
Yeah.
move you through space. It's actually beautiful.
It's most people don't remember when they felt better, when they felt good. They can't, like, my friend's a holistic integrative medicine doctor. And so she's like, most people are so disconnected from their brain and their body.
Yeah.
They think it's normal to have just gas and bloating. And like, we're also taught it's normal. Oh, you're getting, like, for women listening, oh, you're in your 40s, you're probably in perimenopause. Like, it's just how it's going to go. Yes, and there's actually a lot of science about how great it can go. It doesn't have to be miserable forever until it's not. Like, there's so many things. But we all spend time being okay and kind of justifying it and going, I'll just work through it. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can do a little bit at a time. You can focus on getting 15 more minutes of sleep, getting 15 more minutes of movement.
Yeah.
You said 15 minutes is 1% of your day. It's true. 30 minutes is only 2% of your day. And I would just like to challenge you. If you don't have 2% of your day to dedicate to your body,
Yeah.
it's important for you to actually look at, what are you trying to over control? None of us are that important. We're all amazing. But like, truly, in my own household and all the things that I do, like, I don't have to do the dishes. So I can pay someone to do that so that I can move. And that can sound privileged, but also it's how the economy goes around. I pay someone who loves to clean some money. I spend more time in meditation. I am a much better person to the people that I'm in the world with. The world is always, that's for me. I don't like to clean, right? That's not my thing. So we have to start to see, like, where are we trying to over control things in our life so that we can have this badge of, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
It's an excuse. And then the other thing is, we haven't talked about, I want to just touch on briefly, any habit you don't like. And we tend to call those bad habits, but BJ would say there's actually no such thing as a good or bad habit. They're all habits. You might not like it and you can't break it because, as you said, it's a net. It's all integrated. The habit you don't like about yourself is raveled and knitted into place by other things. There is a prompt. Every habit has a prompt. And a prompt, some people call a bell. Like, there's that whole thing. If the dog heard the bell, he'd go get the treat, like that kind of thing. Bells today don't always work. Like having your phone buzz, it's time to stand up right now. It doesn't work if you are on jury duty in the United States. You can't stand up just because your phone said, hey, you've been sitting down too long, right?
Exactly.
So you have to, they're kind of okay in a lot of ways, but only if they go off in a time you can use them. Because when you start to ignore them, they no longer serve their purpose. So a better prompt is something you already do. So when you can take the habit you don't like about yourself and you can ask yourself what comes before that. So if you don't like how much you scroll on your phone, what's happening that's prompting you to open your phone? Now that is an extra level. That's an advanced level habits person. But here's another thing. If you don't like that you eat cookies at your desk, it's not the same. It's not as easy as saying, don't buy the cookies. That's what people would say, but that's not the thing. You are used to doing this movement at your desk. And if you're listening, I'm taking my hand to my desk and putting it in my mouth. You're used to doing that. There is a reason. There is a prompt for that. There is something that's happening that is causing you to want to do that. What is that? And we can't just take the cookies away from the desk, because guess what you're going to do? You are going to be like any other addict and you're going to go seek out some cookies. And what do addicts do of any kind when you don't have access to it the way you did? You go and you'll eat the whole container of cookies instead of having the 2 cookies you would have had. So what you have to do is put in the desk something else that you can chew on, that you still like. If you like carrots and hummus, you would do that. If you have to pick something else. And then we have to figure out what is causing that prompt. What is that bell that's going off that's causing you to do that? And then we have to unravel that. And it might be a series of habits that we have to unravel. We have to take, if you're really picturing knitting a blanket and we have an air, we have to unravel till we get all the way back to that air. And so it is possible to unravel habits around anything, but you have to be aware of those things. And until you're aware, you're just going to be harming yourself on trying to make it go away.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Because there is a lot to our behavior, and it's not as simplified as we like it to be. Many of us don't know even about our core beliefs, how much they're driving us. Many of us have never addressed maybe adverse childhood experiences. Many of us have had small trauma, big trauma. They are suffering from PTSD, yet they don't even know about it because it has
because
been.
they were told, well, you weren't in war, so it's not that bad for you.
Touche. So there are all these kind of interesting beliefs out there. And as with so many things, if you have not had the chance to experience, to explore that, shall I say, not experience. You experience the fight and flight all the time, but you have no idea why you are so angry and resentful and weird all the time and have a hair trigger. It is a journey, and the trauma has come in layers. Your healing will come in layers. Accepting all that, please, guys out there, if you're now in the darkness, there is light. In the first instance, I want to say there is hope. There is help out there. It might not be what you expect, but it might just be what you need. So sometimes there are people. I've had guests on who focus on movement. And they described to me that after a yoga session, that people burst out in tears and that emotions are flaring up, where they think, "What the heck?" Because when we say the issues lie in the tissues, well, there's a lot to be said about that. Now, Pilates goes to the core of the body. Is there also more a chance that we also come to the core of what is going wrong in our life?
I think so. I think there's not been any scientific studies that I know of, but what I do know from a somatic therapist that I used to work with personally, trauma leaves the body through movement. And what I try to do as as a movement professional is when people have started crying, and I've even cried in a session, and I'm like, why? We all want to go, why am I crying? My holistic doctor would say, don't try to find a logical reason for what you're feeling, and instead just acknowledge what you're feeling. I'm feeling quite emotional right now. I feel like I could cry right now, and just let it go. Yeah. Because the logical reason that we've been taught as true logic is not going to make sense. And we can actually create a reason that's not true. And so as a Pilates instructor, when a client of mine has an emotional experience in a session, what I don't say is it's okay. What I instead do is just sit there. And if it seems to be ongoing, I can actually say, how long have you been feeling this way? And that way the person doesn't shove it back in. Because the moment I say it's okay, I'm helping them brush it. But if I just say, how long have you been feeling this way? It is within my scope to get them to be curious about this. And if they don't know, I can say, I am not your therapist. And I'm not saying you need a therapist, but I am saying this is worth exploring with a professional.
Nice.
And let's continue to move, because your body seems to be really releasing something right now. So let's go. So Pilates has extension exercises. Those are, as we know from yoga, heart openers. Extension exercises make people feel a lot of fear, especially, and you won't even know why. I have this one amazing friend who's just truly awesome. Whenever I do down stretch, she's like, I feel like I'm going to throw up right now. And I have to tell her, you don't have to tell me why you feel like you're going to throw up right now, but you need to understand that for the last 2 years I've taught you, you felt you're going to throw up in an extension exercise. It's because your heart is exposed, and it feels very as a lizard brain, we don't want our heart to be open there. It's not natural for the lizard brain to feel comfortable there. So something is wanting to be heard in you. That's not me. I'm not that person, but your body's wanting to feel safe. And what you might need to do is just tell your body, I'm safe right now. But so the body is going to, you will feel things in your workouts that can be exhilarating and dopamine inducing, or also could make you want to cry. And you might not know why, and that is okay. So what we have to stop doing is like trying to figure it out, or it's okay, I'm okay, I'm shove it back in. It wants out, just let it go. Just let it be out there. And the other thing is that for me, Pilates helped me connect to myself. I am a hypermobile body. I'm an Aquarius by nature. So I am just like in my head. My husband's like, you didn't tell me that. I'm like, oh, you're right. I totally had the conversation with myself. It went really well. And I didn't tell it to you. So I never understood when I'd hear stand your own 2 feet. I was like, I don't even feel my feet. Like, I don't feel that. So for me, Pilates helped me get more connected with my brain and my body.
Yeah.
So they weren't two different things. They were this one thing. And the more I connected to myself, the more I actually had better relationships. I went my whole life before Pilates, like where friends just kind of came in and out of my life. And I just thought, well, that's normal. I went from one school to the next school, right? That happened. So of course my friends changed. And then I moved to college. Well, they all got married. That's why I have to get new friends again. But really what was happening is like, I wasn't friends with myself. I didn't have connection to myself. So I can't actually have true relationships with others if I don't have one with me. And so that's how Pilates worked for me. And then the other thing that it did is it allowed me to be curious, because you're never going to get an exercise perfectly because your body is different every single day. And so it forced me to stop trying to look like an image of an exercise and really focus on connection in an exercise, focus on the strength. It changed my life, Stephan. I quit my job because after just being consistent with my Pilates practice and being curious, my Pilates practice, what I learned was I was like, oh, I actually don't like where I live. It was this like little thought bubble that just came through. And I was like, where did that come from? So these things come up. They don't even have to be a little T trauma or a big T trauma. It could just be in like an enlightenment idea. Like, I don't like my job right now. And instead of going, oh, where did that come from? It's just like, well, let's explore that. Why don't I like my job right now? That's an interesting thought. I never thought about that before. So here I am after doing Pilates for literally almost 20 years. And I can tell you, I live where I live. I'm with the person I am, not because of my looks from Pilates, but because of my practice of Pilates has led me to being more in touch with myself and to, oh, I feel really stiff right now. Oh, I can tell, like, I'm like, oh, why did you sleep like that last night? Why didn't you go to bed sooner? If I'm being like that, I'm like, oh, today is going to be a day where I'm going to judge myself. Why don't we just like take a moment? What is possible in my body right now? And if we actually practice that kindness in our movement, we can practice that kindness at our job with our other goals, with our other habits, with our other things. And so that's how Pilates works with me. And that's how it works when I teach people. And I do believe that other people can work in a similar way. I think we all have to be okay with feeling our feelings first, which is not what a Pilates expert is trained on. But as a movement professional, I need to know what's going to happen in a movement practice, which could be, you could start laughing, you could start crying, you could just be really irritated and not know why. And we have to be okay with just like letting that pass like a cloud in the sky.
And that's so important. The irritated. I was, when the first few yoga sessions, and even nowadays, actually, I immediately want to be the perfectionist. I immediately want to do, I don't know, turn my body into a pretzel. And I can't. And it's just absolutely, I'm a brick, for crying out loud. Does that mean to say that I cannot actually work on my flexibility and cannot work on my body? Recognize that there are days when I am stiff as hell. I mean, last night I did some stretching, some deep stretching exercises. I'm a flexibility instructor, yoga instructor. And as I said, I'm a brick. So it's ludicrous that I even,
Wait, those who can't do teach, right, Stephan?
Oh, ouch. Ouch. Okay.
I'm a recovering perfectionist and overachiever over here. So if I spotted, I got it, right? Like, let's just be real.
Counseling services, please. No, touche. Because immediately, so I was there and I was going, a fraction of the range of movement that I normally have. So there was a reason for that. Yesterday was a day filled with terror and fear for me deep inside. And there I was, expecting somehow that my body is just absolutely relaxed. And, of course, I couldn't go with my legs nicely apart. No. On the contrary,
Yes.
everything was scrunched in survival mode. So instead of getting angry, I actually recognized what was happening.
Yeah.
And did appropriate breathing exercises, did allow myself to calm down, recognize the anger and resentment, etc., what it was, allowed it, experienced it to be there, and actually 3 minutes later, suddenly my legs went much further than you could. So
you are so correct. We are not machines, and we expect our bodies to work the same way our car does.
Exactly.
Well, if you don't put new oil in your car, what happens? If you don't run the car, what happens? If you don't put the equal amount of air in the tires, what happens? But we take really amazing care of our cars. There's probably not a single person listening who goes, no, I run it and let it run out of gas and I push it in. You don't do that on purpose. It happened like once in your life and you're like, that was dumb. That was a stupid thing to do. But we do that to our bodies. And to me, what I have found is the more I listen to my body, I had a teacher give me a correction and I could feel myself start to like well up with tears. And I said to her, today is just not a day that I'm going to be able to give you what you want in this exercise. So maybe we should just move on. Maybe we try this again tomorrow, but let's do another thing like that I can do. But this one is not like I could feel it.
Yeah.
And so instead of like trying to shove it in or force myself to do what she's asking, I listened to my body. My body was like, we're not ready to go there. And here's the thing, that is me practicing standing up and having boundaries around things. So when I'm in a meeting and I can feel myself viscerally not like an idea, instead of going, I don't like it, I actually can go, oh, I'm feeling not good about this. And I can say, hey guys, I want to be able to take in all these ideas you have today. I'm just not actually feeling excited about what you're saying. And I don't really know why. So can we just put all the pros and cons out on the table and then give me about 24 or 40 hours to think about it? I run a company with people on my team. I can't run a company going, I don't like it. I have to listen. There are human beings at the table. So what I have been able to do, and I do this applies. You can do this with anything. If you are curious about your body and you're just like, wow, this feels different today.
Yeah.
Well, how your body is going to take you through the whole day. If it is tight and in fear and in survival mode, you are taking that to your doctor's office. You're taking that to your dinner. You're taking that to your kids. You're taking that to your best friend. We have to be able to go, oh, I'm in survival mode today. What can I take off of my plate? And so I can give myself the time to relax. And some of you might not want a workout that's so intense right away. You might need to do a breath work session, or it is okay for you to need time to warm up to get into things. You won't know that though until you get in touch with your movement.
Touche. Ooh, touche. Very nice. And then again, we are going full circle here because it's a practice. It's a journey that you're going on. And that journey is a journey of self-love. It's a journey of getting to know yourself, warts and all. Yes, there is all these beautiful masks that you portray towards the outside, but it's really what is happening inside. That is what comes out when you actually are curious and live with intention and actually look inside. And once you start curious, there's not just pretty things in there. There are actually, as I said, fear, sadness, anger, resentment, a whole gamut of emotions. And many of us are not used to feeling them. Many of us are far more used to run away from them, the negative emotions. So it is a journey. So starting with Pilates or starting with any movement that is indeed focused rather on the inside than the outside. Look how good I look in Lycra. No, you don't want to see that. Sorry, I didn't want to plant that.
Well, I was just going to say, you are all allowed to take mirrors off at a gym. Anyone who's listening who has a fitness environment, we don't actually need the mirrors. The teacher can use the mirrors. If you come to my studio, which is just at my home, but like when I work out, I have no mirrors. And when I'm teaching someone, the mirrors at a level that they can never see with their eyes because they don't need to see themselves because they're not going to like what they see. You're never like when at the gym I go to, they put mirrors up and I hate it because I'm like, that's what I look like when I'm doing this. And I'm not focused on like, I'm doing this. Before those mirrors were up, I thought I was like slaying a few exercises. And I saw, I was like, oh, right. So I turn around. So turn around.
Yeah.
Don't look at the mirrors.
I like that. I like that. Focus on the sensations from your body, not comparing yourself to the last fitness model you have looked on Instagram. I like that. Yeah. This is a comparison with you now, maybe with you yesterday, and maybe with you tomorrow. So there needs to be a vision, a crystal clear vision of what you want to do, I mean, why you want to do it. So there are those things, but don't compare yourself with all those, wonderful, wonderful physiques out there when you really then actually talk to those guys.
Did you all hear what Jane Fonda said? Jane Fonda, who had her workout tapes that everyone was doing. Yeah. She finally came clear that she was purging the whole time. So everyone was doing Jane Fonda's workout to look like Jane Fonda when Jane Fonda didn't look like Jane Fonda because of workouts. She did look like herself because she was purging. We have to stop looking at other bodies and saying that person's healthy or that person's unhealthy. That's not your aesthetics do not actually, except for like maybe like if you're pale, I might be like, you might need some vitamin D. But even then, like, I don't know, maybe you just have been inside for a month. Like we have to stop looking at people and going, that person's healthy, that person's unhealthy, or a scale. That weight is unhealthy. Like in the US, they use BMI all the time. That is so outdated. It is a bodybuilder has a obese BMI. So like that doesn't work. We have to really focus on the holistic energy and use movement as a way to be connected to ourselves on a daily basis and to really create energy that is lasting. And I use that with Pilates, but it doesn't have to just be Pilates or it doesn't have to be Pilates at all. I hope you do it. I promise you will be able to squat down on the ground and get back up again, which is a sign of longevity. If you cannot sit on the ground on your own and then stand back up without using your hands, you will die sooner. That being said, I don't want to be in this podcast on a dark mode. Any movement you do, your body's going to thank you for it. But any movement you do in punishment of yesterday, your body is not going to thank you for that. You're not going to feel good the next day. You'll feel good with a dopamine hit for a little bit. We all know that shame and judgment do not create long-lasting, healthy, fun bodies that we all want to be around.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Wow. Okay. Lesley, what an interview. It is, no, there were so many aha moments in there and there were so many realizations I had. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful to you. This was fun. This was also a bit traumatic because you rattled my cage a little bit. It is nice. That is how we grow. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And today I've learned quite a lot. And I will probably revisit how I look at my own life, certain little tiny aspects, because that's where we can make the change. The tiny bits where, however, then compound interest starts working for you. And after a week, after a month, after maybe 60 days, suddenly you realize, hey, I'm doing something completely different than 60 days ago, and I feel good. And there's a smile creeping on your face. And I think that you have streamlined that path a little bit to me for the next 60 days. So for that, I'm very, very grateful.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Oh, shit. Yeah, Lesley. Now, Lesley, if people want to know more about you, if they want to check you out, maybe see what kind of programs they are, where can they find you?
Yeah. So if you like podcasts, I'm on the host of the Be It Till You See It podcast. So lots of this kind of talk over there. And then I really hang out on Instagram. That's just my name, lesley.logan. And you can, on the links there, you'll find all of the programs. I have free mat programs. Mat Pilates is something you can do at home. You
Yeah.
don't have to have any equipment. I have one for beginners and I have one for people who like feel like they could do in all levels. We also have other ones for equipment. But I love try the free stuff. I put it out there for for a reason. And then if you do like it and you like accountability and community, onlinepilatesclasses.com is my company. We have members all over the world, and including in New Zealand, where you are, Stephan. And you can find accountability and classes there, and truly true reminders, literally in every class, that finishing is optional, and that it's not about what you did do. It's like if you can't do something yet, you replace it with something you can, and that's brave and courageous. So if you need those reminders in your ears, that's what my teachers and I love to do.
Fantastic. Ah, I love it. Lesley, again, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live intentionally today. Make the most out of it. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.